Hello and welcome back. Sorry we're starting a couple minutes late this morning. Welcome to Code Along with Joe Skeen, Episode 6, The Tour of Heroes, Part 3. I hope you've been following along the last couple of parts because we've been going through the Angular Tour of Heroes tutorial on Angular.io. So let's take a quick look at what we've done so far, and hopefully we can finish this off in this hour. Alright, the tutorial is the Tour of Heroes. We've been through the introduction, the hero editor, master detail, multiple components, and services. I believe when we left off, we had done some routing. Well, let's just boot it up. We'll take care of that later. So, this is our Tour of Heroes app, and we can start it by doing ng-serve or npm start, which does ng-serve anyway. And while that's coming up, let's see here. Let's pull up this one. Okay. Here we go. Localhost 4200. And let's bring that here. Oops. Sheesh. Oh, wow, that's not what I meant to do there. There we go. Okay, we got our Tour of Heroes, our dashboard route, and our heroes route. But we haven't quite finished that off, it looks like. Oh, no, here's the heroes. And there's the details. Alright, so let's take a look at the tutorial and see what we were needing to do next. We've done adding the dashboard view. We've been able to navigate between. When users click a hero name in either view, navigate to the detail view of the selected hero. We haven't quite done that yet. And having a deep link to open the detail view for a particular hero. Let's see if we've gotten that done. Whoops. Got this one here. And there. Okay, so let's test that out here. So we want to be able to do hero/15, and that doesn't work right now. Okay, let's get it working. Alright, so we've got our O's hero detail. Let's see, how did we do those routes? So we have heroes, O's detail, and then an ID. And there we go. There's our deep link. Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit better about that. But we still need to fix our dashboard because our dashboard isn't really doing anything useful here other than listing a few of the heroes. Let's see what the tutorial suggests. Okay. Splitting app component, creating app component, routing, configuring routes. router outlet links. Yep. Okay, our dashboard. We've done navigation. And here's to the dashboard. Okay. I believe this is where we're at with that. So we did the ng4, so we could do one of these divs for every hero in the collection of heroes. And so for each one, we're going to have one of these that has the name of the hero. Okay, and we got the hero service there. Hero detail component has been revised. Click one of two links in the app component or click the browser's back button. Third option, go back method that navigates backward one step in the browser's history stack using the location service. Yeah, let's do that. So that's going to be in the hero detail component. But we still haven't made links from the dashboard. Let's just do that. I don't see any specific code that they've added in the tutorial for it, but let's do it ourselves. So, what do we want to do here? Well, we know that from the heroes that we've got a selected hero, and on click we do on select hero. Let's go look at what we do there. This dot selected hero equals hero. That pops that up there. But what we want from the dashboard is not to do that, but actually to navigate. So I'm kind of surprised that didn't have that. I must have just missed it in the tutorial here. Oh, see, I was getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So this is how they do it here. So open dashboard component HTML, replace the repeated div with an A tag. So basically all we got to do is here, instead of doing a div, we're just going to make it an A and an end A, and then we're going to create a router link on it. So this is how you define router links in the template. Now, did we do that with the app component HTML? So we did a router link like this, where it was kind of a hard-coded link here. But this one is binding the router link to, it has /detail, but then it also gives it some parameters. So that's why we have a different syntax here, as opposed to how we did it in the app component HTML here. We didn't need any parameters or any special extra stuff here, whereas we need that ID to pass into detail, so we get /detail/ and then the ID of the hero. Okay, let's see if that works. If we come over here, now we can see that they are all links. And if we go to Mr. Nice, there we are. Okay, so we want to be able to make it so when you get to here, you can go back. Now, there's the back button in the browser, obviously, but we're going to add a navigate back link. So let's take a look. Now we're a little out of order here because they talk about that here. Going back too far could take users out of the app. In the real app, you could prevent this issue with the can deactivate guard. That's cool. So we want to click one of the two links in the app component. Now add a third option. This will be in the app component. That is go back. So let's do that. Okay, back to the app component. And we're going to add a third link. And this isn't going to be a router link because we're going to have to do some code to make this work. And so we're going to just say, well, let's see, what does it suggest here? Oh, it's a button. That makes sense. Okay, and my handy dandy editor here is telling me that doesn't work because we haven't defined it yet. So we're going to have to create a go back function. But in order to do that, we're going to need the location service. Went a little too far there. There. That's kind of interesting because it says that I injected the location service previously, and I don't remember doing that. Oh well. Let's just inject it now. Constructor, and we're going to do a private location, which is of type location. And there. Okay, so I'm going to need to import that. It's definitely not from there. No, it's not from there either. Okay, let's figure this out. Location. Angular common. Oh. Uh-huh. So I'm wondering if they're wanting us to add it to the hero detail based on that. Very interesting. The only thing with that is, if we're just adding it to the hero detail, sure you can get there from the dashboard, but they were talking about deep linking from an email or something like that. You wouldn't want someone doing a go back from there. Let's just add it to the main page. That way if you go back and forth between things, you can always go backwards. So Angular common is where we're going to find it. Import from Angular common, and we should find it now. Location, woohoo! All right, this dot location dot go back, back. Is that what it was? Let's see. Whoops. Yeah, that's it. Cool, let's see if it works. Now, by the way, when you're looking at this, it shows that you've got a return type on the function. And this is totally valid. You can do it this way. This is also totally valid not doing it this way. If you hover over the function, it says, oh look, it already figured out this function doesn't return anything. Now, if you want to be more explicit with your type annotations and with your return types, you can. But one of the beauties of TypeScript is you don't always have to specify the types. it knows that this title is a string because that's what we assigned it to. It knows that this is a void because we're not returning anything. So whenever possible, I like to let TypeScript do the heavy lifting and keep my code as clean and clear as possible by not littering it with a bunch of extra stuff. That way I get the power and the awesomeness of TypeScript, but I don't have to worry about all of the visual clutter, so to speak, of typing everything. Alright, so we've done that. Oh, we haven't tested it out. I got a little sidetracked there. Let's see. If I go back, hey, there we are, and back, and back. Oh no. And that's how it was warning us in the tutorial that if we allow them to go back too far, they'll navigate right out of our app. So we'll talk about that in our next example app. But let's finish off this tour of heroes today. Okay, we're really close here. Okay. Aha. Yes. So we did that. And I'm pretty sure we already did that. Yes. That works. Okay. So this is good. What we have going on here, let's go look at our app.module. You see that we've got a lot of routing stuff in here. And the more pages we get, the more that's just going to bloat this. Now, the app module file, it's really good for just keeping it to imports, exports, and things like that. But if we start mixing all the routing stuff in there, the routing could easily take over. So we want to go ahead and break out all of our route stuff into its own file. So here we go. We can actually make it its own module, and that way we can keep all the routes there and then just import that module into our app module. There we go. So let's go do that right now. So we can do app routing module.ts, create that. App routing.module.ts. Okay, and in order to declare a module, we're still going to have to, sorry about that, we're still going to have to import ng module from Angular Core. Oops. Angular Core. Ng module. Okay. And we'll have router. We're going to import router module and routes, because we're going to need that for the routing. I'm going to collapse this for a second here. We'll also need all of the things we are navigating to. So we'll have the dashboard dot component. Oh, that's because it's in its own folder. There we go. There are some things that are a little different between the quick start and using the Angular CLI, but this is overall a much better way to do it. Dashboard component, import. Now, watch this. Boom. I should have been doing that all along. Heroes. slash heroes.component. And then what am I going to import here? Heroes component import. Oops. Oh, it's not working. There we go. Okay, and we need to get our hero details as well. Hero detail. Oops. Hero detail component. And hero detail component. Okay, that should be everything we need to import. So, we're going to define a constant. And we're going to do this. Okay, we might as well just go back to our app module at this point and copy all this out, because why type it again? Unless you really want to learn better, I will not fault you for that. But just to review here, when the route matches heroes, go to heroes component. When it matches dashboard, go to dashboard component. When it matches detail slash and then a parameter ID, go to the hero detail component. If it matches the empty string, matching full there, we'll redirect to dashboard. Okay, and now we define our, you got it, ng module. So we've got an ng module for the app. Now we are creating an ng module for the routes. We're going to import router module dot for route routes. So you remember how we had that in here, we were defining them all in line there. Now we can take that out, right? Okay, and then we also need to do an export, because otherwise we can't use this in our main app module. So instead of importing from the router module, we're now going to be importing from this module here. Module, app routing module. Sorry, sometimes when I'm typing I get a little bit backed up in my speech. Okay, so that's complete, and now we are exporting this app routing module, which exports this router module. So now, if we go back to our app module here, first of all, we can get rid of router module here. We won't need that. But we can go ahead and import from app routing.module. Oops. App routing module. Okay, so all we have to do is throw that in there. Whoops, app routing, if I can type, app routing module. And now, so we've got our imports really clean here, and our declarations and everything. This is the way an app module.ts file should look. And now we've got all our routes in one specific file. Let's see if they work. If we go to Heroes, and back, and Dashboard, and Mr. Nice, and Heroes, and Magenta. This is great. This is awesome. We have mastered all the routing for this. Okay, so let's see here. I think we're getting, oh, we've still got a bit left on this section here. Let's see what's next. We did that. Okay, in the heroes component, the current template exists a master detail style with a list of heroes, and selected here below, except for we put it above. So what do we want to do then? Okay, delete the last line of the template with hero detail tags. Okay, so basically they want you to take out the hero detail from here and just go to that page, just route to it, which is fine. Let's do that. Okay, however, when a user selects a hero from the list, won't go to the detail page. Instead, they'll see a mini detail on this page and have to click a button to navigate to the full detail. Okay, let's do this. So in heroes.component.ts, let's go put that in. Back over here. Okay. And here we're still doing this .selected hero equals hero, but instead of doing hero detail here, let's just comment that out for now. And we will instead put in a div, and we'll do an ngIf here for selected hero. So if a hero is not selected, this will not appear. I believe we had that before anyway. Okay, so then inside here we're going to do an h2, and we're going to do selected hero dot name. Now this is cool. I don't know if you've done anything with pipes yet, but this basically says we're going to take the value here, which will be a string. Does it show that? Oh, it doesn't. But anyway, then we're going to stuff that value into this transform function called uppercase, which you should be able to figure out what it does from the name. It's going to take that string and make every letter of it uppercase. Is my hero. Okay. And let's see just with that if it works. My heroes. Mr. Nice is my hero. Magenta is my hero. Okay, this is cool. But we want to be able to select that hero and navigate to them. So now we do a button, and when we click it, we want to go to detail. And we'll call this view details. You know, yeah, that's the way I would do it. Okay. But of course that doesn't exist yet, and my editor is telling me so. So we're going to go to the component and we're going to create it. Go to detail. And what do you think we should do here? Well, we're going to have to do some kind of navigation here. So, go to detail. Sorry, I'm looking along here. So we've got the uppercase pipe. We've got the content. Heroes component.html. Yeah, this is very similar to what we have, except for I really like putting the selected on top of the seemingly endless list. Right. Okay, update the hero component class. Here we go. This.router.navigate. Okay, so we're going to have to import the router and into the constructor. Hopefully by this point you're starting to get a little more familiar and comfortable with injecting things into classes. Import statement, and it's going to be from Angular/router, and it's going to be router. So we need to use the router in order to tell it to go to a new route when we click on the button. So let's go, and we're going to add a comma here, and private router of type router. By the way, I was saying earlier that, you don't always have to specify the type of things. In this case, we do, because what Angular is going to do is so amazingly cool, is when TypeScript compiles this, since we have a decorator here, it's going to go and grab all the types off of these things and put it in a metadata thing. And so when you initialize this, even though TypeScript doesn't exist at runtime, it already has that type metadata saved in the generated JavaScript, and it knows how to resolve each of these parameters here in the constructor so that it can inject them into your component, which is really amazing. Okay, so we've got our private router, and all we have to do now is this dot router dot, what are we going to use? Navigate. Okay, so this can get a little bit tricky, but it's not that bad, because if you remember back in our hero dashboard, remember how we had this router link here, and we specify the path and then the path parameters? Guess what? It is exactly the same here. Oops. Except for instead of hero, it's going to be this dot selected hero, because that's the name of the variable there. But look at that. Now that you understand that, now you can put together your router links, and you can navigate programmatically as well. So let's see if this works. View details. There we go. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this, and we can go back. All right. Now, let's see. Here's the revised heroes component class. Just looking at this, it looks like we've got a lot of stuff in there. I don't know if we have that much in ours. Maybe we do. Let's see. Oops. Heroes and selected hero there. Constructor with the 2 private things. We've got a get heroes. We do not have a get heroes, because we're just doing it on init. I guess we could break that out into its own function, but right now, since we're only getting heroes that once when we're initializing, you can do it just there. If this, on init got too big, I would definitely break it out into its own thing though. Okay, and then on select and go to detail. Okay, so we are on the same page with the tutorial now. Okay, so up until now, a lot of the app is looking like, well, pretty 1990s or early 2000s. So we want to change that. We want to make things look a little bit nicer. Let's go into our dashboard, CSS, whoops, and we'll add, we've already got this wired up thanks to the Angular CLI. We don't have to wire that up ourselves. And we're going to add some styles. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to just go ahead and paste in what they have from the tutorial and save that. Let's go back to the dashboard, and now we have some really awesome blocks here. It kind of looks a little weird still, but that's okay. And they also have some CSS for the hero detail. Let's throw that in there as well and save. So when we click on one of these, now we've got a little bit nicer styling there. We can also do some styling of the navigation links up here. They're kind of ghetto looking here. So let's go ahead and go to our app component, CSS, And we can throw this pasted code in. Again, I'm just, on each of these, I'm clicking copy code, and copy code there. We could take all the time to explain what all these styles do, but right now I would prefer to move on to HTTP. Okay, so we've got dashboard, heroes, and our ugly back button. It's probably because I didn't put it in the place they wanted me to. If we look in the hero detail, we've got button. So let's actually just move this into app component so that we'll get that there. Okay, and save, and okay, it's not quite the same as the others, but oh well. It's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit ugly. I don't know. Okay, so now let's see. We can actually specify when a router link is active. You can add a class to the HTML navigation element. So let's go ahead and do that for each of the links up top there. So remember, this is an app component where the navigation is. And oh, why does it not like that? We definitely have a go back. Weird. Maybe I just need to... There we go. Sometimes it just forgets things. You have to type it back. Okay. And okay, save that, and let's see what that does. So we're on heroes, and you see that the heroes is kind of highlighted there. Let's go to dashboard, and now dashboard's highlighted. So that's kind of neat. Neat little trick there. Okay, let's see. And wants to add in some global styles as well. So let's go add those to our styles.css. And save that, and we've got now some different fonts and such. Oh, see, that looks a lot better when I don't scrunch it over to the side. So it doesn't look nearly as awful now. Okay, cool. Alright, let's see what else we got here. I think we're pretty much there now. Yay, we've made it to the bottom of the routing. And that's great because now hopefully we'll have time to finish off where this all becomes amazing, and that is when we add HTTP to the mix. So far everything's been kind of contrived with data being returned, but we want to get the hero data from the server, let the users add, edit, and delete hero names, and save those changes to the server. Now, in order to do that, we're going to need well, let's see. It looks like what we're doing first, we need the HTTP services, which is great. And it looks like it's bringing in forms as well. I don't know if we'll need that or not. It's just mentioning Angular HTTP here. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw that in there. So in our app component TS, or app module TS, oh, we already have HTTP module. That's something that came with the Angular CLI. Thank you, CLI. Okay, so now what we need to do is we don't have a web server built yet that can handle requests for the hero data. So we're going to pretend that we have one that is using a mock service. Okay, and so in-memory web API from Angular in-memory web API. Interesting. Where are they getting that from? Rather than require a real API, this example simulates communication with the remote server by adding this. Yes, where is that coming from though? Is that an NPM thing? It certainly looks like an NPM thing. Okay, I gotta dig into this really quick. Okay. Angular in-memory web API. Yeah, I mean it's not got a // at the beginning. It's not got an @Angular. It's just like this, which usually means that it's something installed from npm. I mean, I guess we can try throwing it in and see what happens. This is going to be in our app module TS. And we're going to import it. Okay, let's see if this works. Yeah, oops. Helps if we actually do things right there. This says, I don't know what you're talking about. It's odd that it's not really saying anything about it either. But for good measure, we can go ahead and I'm just going to shut this down for a second. I'm going to see npm info Angular in-memory web API. Aha! So it is something we need to install. So we'll do that now. npm install -- save Angular in-memory web API. Now the reason why they're not talking about installing that in the quick start is because normally they want you to download the starter project that they've created for the quick start, but we didn't do that. We used the Angular CLI instead. And so in the quick start, they'd already wired up the Angular in-memory web API, whereas for us, we need to install it ourselves. Okay, that's done. All right, now we should be able to, I'll just go ahead and npm start again, and we can close this for now. Okay, so now let's see if yep, now it's happy with me. All right, mystery solved, and we're doing just fine now. So we need to import, in our declarations, we need to use in-memory web API module dot for root. And let's see, what are we doing for root with? Hero data. Now, where's hero data coming from? We've got /hero data. Do we have a hero data? We have hero.service. Let's see if I've gotten ahead of myself yet again. In-memory data service.ts. Okay. And we've got there. Okay. So it looks like what we want to do is bring in an in-memory data service that we create. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to create an in-memory data service. In-memory data.service.ts. All right, and inside of that, we're going to need to, again, import from the in-memory web API. This time we're importing in-memory DB service. Yeah, close that. Okay. And then we want to export this in-memory data service. And basically what we're doing here is we're simulating creating an in-memory database for the heroes. So let's just paste that in there. So this should be the same list that we had before. If you remember, we have this hero.service.ts here, right? And we're doing all this funky stuff to manually resolve promises and all that. And we've got the mock heroes here. I guess we won't need that anymore once we have this wired up. Okay, so it says here that this is useful only in the early stages of development and demonstrations. Don't worry about the details of backend substitution. You skip it when you have a real web API server. Yeah. So the thing with this is it'll work for our thing, but if anyone refreshes the page, all the data gets dumped. Where in a real life situation, you don't want to do that because you want the data to be saved somewhere. So every time you refresh, you get the data back. So let's go take a look at this. So get heroes. This is currently returning a promise with the mock heroes. Let's change it to using HTTP. So we've got API/heroes is going to be what we're going to call instead. Let's go ahead and implement this. If we go to our, let's see, hero.service.ts. Okay, so we need to change some things here. With get heroes, we'll keep this as a promise for now. We're going to say return this.http.get this.heroes URL, which doesn't exist. Let me fix that. And here, private heroes URL equals API heroes. Oh, and we haven't injected HTTP here either, which we will definitely need. Import from Angular/HTTP. And we're going to do HTTP module. Oh, not HTTP module. I'm sorry. That will be just HTTP. Okay. That is what we will inject here. And this will be private HTTP of type HTTP. Okay, so it's not going to like that. Why is that? Aren't the HTTP services supposed to return a promise? Well, actually, it doesn't. It returns an observable of type response. Like, what in the heck is this? We're going to need to do some things to this response before we can return it as a hero array. So we're going to say dot to promise, oops, which in order to do that, we're going to need to add import rxjs slash, or is it dot? Oh yeah, it is slash. Operator, no. Observable. Wow, I'm really not nailing this time. Does it say anything about imports there? I'm not seeing. Oh, it's arcjs slash add slash operator slash to promise. Don't worry too much right now about what the heck this is, but we now have a promise of type response, and that's not what we want. We need to convert this into our hero stuff, our hero array. So the cool thing about promises is you can chain them and transform the result of that promise as you're going. So we can say response goes to response.json dot data as hero array. So what that's going to do is, you know how we have this response object, this promise of response, we're going to pass that response, we're going to call .json on it, which parses the body as JSON, and then .data is going to be our JSON that comes out of that is going to look like an object with a data property that has our heroes in it. So we can just use that as a hero array. Now it's going to, our then now returns a promise of hero array, and our function is happy. But there's one other thing we want to take care of is now that we're dealing with HTTP, even though it's in memory, what happens if there's an error? What are we going to do about it? And that's why we're going to add a private handle error function. Now, what are we going to pass into that? Well, the error. And we don't always know what type that error, what shape that error is going to be. So we're just going to call it any for now. And I'm just going to not put the return type on there for now and say console.error. Now, obviously in a real world application, this isn't going to be very helpful to anyone, but we can, while we're testing, look in the developer tools. You don't want your users debugging your app anyway. Okay, and then return promise dot error. Oh, whoops, reject error dot message. So remember how this is an any. We don't know if there's a message property on here. So if that returns null, then we're just going to return the error itself. So in JavaScript, I believe we have dot. If it's a message, or if it's an error type, new error, then it will have a message, a name, and a stack. So we're saying, hey, maybe it's that. But if it's not, we'll just return the error because you can actually throw strings in JavaScript. And that is totally valid. So we really never know what kind of thing is going to come out of that. Okay, so we need to wire that up so that when things go wrong, we use the catch operator. Oops. And this dot handle error. Okay. Now we're good. Now, this get heroes slowly, we don't need to do that really anymore because we have something that we don't need to simulate. Okay, so that might break something though because we're using get heroes slowly. Let's go change that from the heroes component TS. We don't need that anymore. Do get heroes instead. And why are we broken here? App.module. Okay, let's go look at our app module. What did I break? Oh yes, I never got around to finishing that. Okay, well let's go ahead and wire that up. So we need to import our in-memory import statement. It was / in-memory data.service, in-memory data service, and throw this one in here. Uh-oh. Now I really broke everything. Okay, let's see. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Okay, so we've got that and that. Module for root in-memory data service. Okay, I believe that's what we have here. Yep, we do. So what is the problem? Oh, because I put it in declarations, not in imports. And put a comma there. Okay, now we're happy. Much better. It's interesting that the declarations are below on here and above on ours. So just be careful when you're copying and pasting things that you're making sure that things actually go the place they belong. And you can see now everything is back to working. And we're actually getting some hero details. Well, actually, that one's not working. But from heroes, maybe, yes, this is our HTML stuff coming back. The detail is still wired up, if you remember, in our service to, oh, this.getHeroes.then. Okay, so this is all going through the HTTP. Yay! All right, so we got that working, and we did the toPromise. Yep, we extracted the data, we did the error handling. Okay, we did get by hero ID. Now, okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to make it so it's not just getting the whole list of heroes. Can you imagine if there's like 2 billion heroes in this list? You don't want to just fetch the entire list and then return one of them. So we're going to make it so that it'll only return the one that we want. So this is going to be in hero.service.ts, and okay, I see what they're doing. Okay, so we want to do const URL, and we're going to build this URL dynamically because we have to include that ID. Now this is called an interpolated string in ECMAScript 2015, which allows you to stick some kind of variable inside of it. So we can say this dot heroes URL and then slash and then ID. So basically what this will look like when we're done is something that looks like this and then like 16. Now you could say, why don't you just do this? And that would be great, except for we already have that heroes URL defined up top. And so what we would have to really do is this dot heroes URL plus this plus that. That ends up being a little bit more than this here. Just get in the habit of doing this because it can really make things slick in the future. Okay, return this dot http dot get the URL, and then we're going to do the same thing again, dot toPromise, and then response goes to response.json.data as hero. And we're going to catch this handle error. So now you can see that we're reusing that error handling, which is nice. Let's go ahead and rearrange this. So we have kind of our API methods up here and then our private error handling at the bottom. So we've got basically the same thing here, except for this time it's just going to return it that way. Why does this work? It's because our in-memory data service is pretty much auto-magical. Let's not worry about too much about why it works right now. Just be happy that it works, and later on we're going to be able to build our own web service that supports this. Okay, and it looks like we're just about at our time here. So we're going to wrap things up here. Yep, so this is the great thing, is that we didn't change the signature here, even though we changed our implementation. This is a great way to go about programming, because if you're able to, you should always keep your programming API as same as possible. And so when you have to make internal changes that don't affect that API signature, that you can just go ahead and make the changes in one spot and not have to go and change every place that's calling it as well. Okay, we are out of time, so we're going to start back up on here on updating hero details. This is where it starts getting really fun. We'll be able to add new heroes next week, delete a hero, and then we will finally get into observables. This is really where I want to be. So I hope you'll join me next week on the home stretch of the Tour of Heroes as we dive into all the CRUD over our web API and finally get into observables, which are one of the true powers that you get using Angular. I just realized you couldn't see any of what I was talking about there. We'll be doing all the CRUD stuff here, and then we'll finally get into observables. And I used to be a little afraid of observables. Now I'm really excited about them. So I hope that you'll join me next week as we continue the Tour of Heroes and learn to do observables. So once again, I'm Joe Skeen. Thanks for watching, and I hope next week you'll code along with me.